Losing objective apples.
I feel like I keep revisiting this game and many other titles at the moment with patches inbound. Now, one of the things I covered when I did hit this game on launch was I thought that the PS4 had more to give. With the Xbox One being the lead platform, it seems slightly ahead of the curve, and that seems to be borne out by the patches we've seen and again here. I also said the same thing about the Pro with more to come, and guess what? There is more to come in this. Now, most people will be interested in multiplayer, so that's where this video will centre its time. But to be as thorough as possible, I also touched on the single player aspect as well, which is where we shall start this video. Which in and of itself is a prospect so exciting, you simply want to leap in the air and whee! Okay, that's quite enough silliness. But yes, as I mentioned, at the launch, the single-player campaign had just a slightly lower performance metric than what we saw on the Xbox One. Not a huge difference, but certainly something tangible when you played it, and certainly when you covered it in this kind of detailed metric comparison. Now, really, this borne out by all of the game itself being a higher resolution on average on the PS4 than the Xbox One, which you can check out the videos that I've covered at launch and more if you didn't see them before to get the information. But during the opening tank battle here, we did see quite a few dips on both machines down into the mid-40s in heavier sections, but overall on average the PS4 was around 1.5 to 2 frames per second on average lower than what we saw on the Xbox One. Now, this isn't a huge difference, nothing's identical, but this is as close as we can get to that information here. Now, looking at the latest version, that's 1.05, we can see compared to the two on the left hand side is the old version 1.03 I think it was, or 1.02, and on the right hand side is what we're looking at now with 1.05, and we can see that even though they do dip and to pretty much the same lows as before, it does seem more consistent, but the average overall isn't sufficiently different across both versions to really write home about. There's certainly sections in the quieter sections where it holds a more consistent 60 than before, but in the heavier sections we're testing here, it's not that sufficiently different to really write home about. But overall, both versions have been improved, and the PS4 is nearly as good and solid as the Xbox One S here. It may even at some points peak and trough, but I wouldn't get too carried away with that kind of comparison. Also of note is my average frame rate here. Even though you can see it's slightly lower on the latest patch, this is simply because the test run between the two here is slightly shorter. The older version was a much longer run, but the average does climb back up and overtake it even in this short section, which reinforces the fact that even though the peaks and the lows are about the same, it is a more consistent experience now, and that is where the patch has overall been delivered to improve consistency rather than peak performance.
Great work, lads! Time to move on! Heavy to rain fire! Heads down!
Now, the PS4 Pro was already much better than that with its additional bump of resolution of averaging around 1440. It is a dynamic solution. Again, as I covered at the time, the resolution difference here is much better and much cleaner, with it never getting anywhere below 1080p, but it can dip all on its own. One of the patch notes that they've noted is the fact that the average scale of resolution between the lowest and highest metric has been altered. Now, I'm not really going to dive into checking that, but overall I would imagine the PS4 Pro is the one that's been tweaked slightly because it maybe had too high a peak, and now they've lowered it down and we're getting a much better performing game here. Again, the single player only had 3 drops in the tested sections you're seeing on screen, so pretty much the single player campaign is a locked 60 on the PS4 Pro, with all the benefits of additional downsampling, slightly better tessellation, better draw distance, improved alpha effects, and overall a slightly better quality than we saw on the base PS4. Shadow quality though remains identical. So overall it is certainly the best console version you can play, unsurprisingly. So this culminates in a slightly enhanced and tweaked Xbox One release, an amplified version of that on the PS4, and the PS4 Pro comes out on top with a near rock solid and consistent 60 FPS delivery across single player action. So you shouldn't really have any worries at all playing it on that version if you are so inclined. So moving into the far more important multiplayer side, which you can see a lot more action that will play out through here, including comparing all three. Back on 1.02, we saw that the PS4 did struggle, and it actually performed worse than the Xbox One overall in multiplayer action. Not by a great deal again, but it was certainly tangible as you played and from my metrics on screen. Now, version 1.02 had points where it could dip right down to below 30 FPS, and this obviously feels very bad in terms of input latency and also control and visual response on screen, due to the fact that you're going from 60 to 28 or 26 at certain points in the game. And even though any expectation of fixing all this and making it a lock-solid 60 on both the Xbox One, PS4 Pro, and even more many PCs is beyond the realms of possibility, there's too many factors into this. 104 was better, even though it did show the stark difference between the Pro and the base PS4. And even though, again, like I say, the difference isn't huge, the Xbox One S is ever so slightly better than the base PS4 in performance. Even if, like I say, there is all the caveats of the resolution change and everything else, you can feel this when you're playing side by side. I know many may question me, but I'm sitting here playing both versions within seconds of each other, and there is definitely a difference that you can feel as you play the game. Overall, both games lag, but the metrics back up my feelings of playing the game. It's just a little bit more consistent, and the Pro version is much more consistent. So 1.04 was a good boost over the standard version, but as you can see here, 1.05 has fixed as much as I think they possibly are going to fix here. Like I say, you do get dips down to 26 on 1.04, and now in the like for like, as near as I can get examples, that's holding around 31 to 32, so that's a 6 FPS difference there, delivering a higher average, which means you get a more consistent feel across play. My final thought is, you may notice here the PS4 is missing motion blur on the ground, and this occasionally happens, and it may be a bug most likely. I'm not going to spend much more time talking. Instead, I'm going to let the visuals and the metrics on screen do all the rest of the talking for me. So if you did enjoy this, you can enjoy more footage of this game across all versions and a three-way comparison. Leave all your thoughts and feedback below. I like to hear what you guys and girls think. Follow me on Twitter if you are interested in supporting me and the work that I put together on this channel and website. Then please subscribe and also share where appropriate. I always like to hear what you guys and girls have to say. So with that, I bid you adieu, and I hope you enjoyed this video and anything else I've put together. Please check out more in the content section below on links on the rest of the channel and the website. Enjoy the forthcoming action, and I'll see you on the next one.
Objective apples.
Granate ist raus, Horn zu!
Objective Edward. We have lost Objective Charlie. Return to the combat area.
Wir haben Einsatzziel Bertha verloren.